Hello, everybody, and welcome to part 4 of the HR Functional Series. Today's topic is Managing Employee and Manager Self-Service Experiences. My name is David, and I'll be your moderator today. We are broadcasting this session through Teams live events, and the audio can be heard through your device speakers. This session is being recorded on behalf of the Microsoft Corporation. When you join this event, your name, email address, and/or phone number may be viewable by other session participants in the attendee list. By joining, you're agreeing to this experience. The recording will be available on the TechTalk's Community Dynamics page within 5 business days. If you have questions for the presenters or need support, please use the Q&A panel located on the right side of your screen. Our presenters will be responding to your questions throughout the event and at the end. Thank you for your patience during these announcements. Presenting for us today from Microsoft, we have Adeel Edhi, Senior R&D Solutions Architect. Adeel, over to you.
Thank you, David. Before I move on, I would like to call that I do have Angela, Rachel, and Volker as well from my team, my colleagues who are helping me with the Q&A. Just a quick bit about myself. So I am the Senior Fast Track Solution Architect, part of the Fast Track team, also part of the HRP crew, as we call it. And here are my quick contact details. And before we begin, setting some ground from this about the Tech Talk and what to expect in the next 45 minutes. We'll be going through the features of employee self-service and manager self-service, along with a high-level look into the application. This Tech Talk series is not a full detailed demonstration of the application, rather providing insights into capabilities offered and implementation guidance to the project teams, along with very handy resources like process catalog and configuration checklists. In the agenda, following the ESS and MSS capabilities, we review some configurations as well as the implementation considerations. Finally, the do's and don'ts and checklists to help you get a kickstart with your employee self-service implementations. Starting with the employee self-service. In order for you to get an overall idea of what capabilities Dynamics 365 HR has to offer when it comes to employee self-service, here is a high-level process catalog showing the L1 capabilities, which are 1, editing personal information, 2, career-related capabilities, and 3, the capabilities which are organization-related, including their relevant L2 processes. This is a good starting point for the project teams to begin their business process analysis and align the requirements gathered under these mentioned processes. The current diagram depicts what is available out of box and what we'll be covering each of the processes at a high level in the next slide. You may have additional processes identified, which you can add accordingly. Here is a screenshot of the Employee Self-Service or ESS landing page. ESS is essentially one of the many workspaces where Dynamics 365 HR or Finance Now have to offer. For users who are already using finance and operations, it's much more streamlined. They stay within a single application to perform their daily operations as well as perform HR-related actions. And yes, one could say that there is overhead of giving away the full ERP to an employee who would only use it to specific self-service needs. But that is why we have an extensive security configurations as well as personalization capabilities to make it relevant to the role of accessing the application. Starting with the first L1 category of editing personal information, Dynamics 365 HR lets the employee manage their address details, giving them ability to either add or update the current address information. A usual ask is whether the address change have approval workflows. So currently we don't have workflows. However, there are alternate ways to ensure changes are tracked, such as using alerts. And also in the personnel management workspace, there is a tile which shows you all the address changes. In addition to that, another benefit of moving to the finance and operations infrastructure would be the ability to create extensions and so add custom workflows. Next is the ability to add or edit the contact details, such as phone numbers, email addresses, etc. Additionally, employees can manage all their personal contacts as well as including the emergency contacts, as well as the dependents who are individuals covered under employees' benefit plans, typically spouses and children, and the beneficiaries who are individuals who will benefit from the plans. Personal information management includes the possibility to add employees' identification details, including the validities. The expiry date plays an important role as, depending on the configurations, managers can see the expired records and the upcoming records in the manager self-service. Then employees can manage and update their payment methods, and the available payment methods are configurable based on the organization policies. This is an important information for payroll applications or the payroll module, which is available out of box but for US only. And obviously, employees may upload their profile images. Moving over to the second level 2 capabilities, we have combined them under career related. And number one is employees may view their compensation details, fixed and variable, but also the history of increments and changes and any other relevant changes to titles and levels. Future compensation doesn't display on this page at this point in time. If you have more than one employment, you can switch between the companies within this page to view your compensation history without logging into each company. Employees can enroll themselves to benefits, which are configured as allowed for self-enrollment. There are various kinds of benefits, and employees would usually see the optional benefits, which they may enroll themselves into. When a new employee is hired or a life event occurs, the employee can use employee self-service to select or update their benefits during open enrollment. To access their benefits for enrollment, the employee goes to the employee self-service and then selects the benefit self-service on the benefits tile, as can be seen on the right-hand side. And on the benefit self-service page, benefit plans are grouped by plan type. To view the benefit plans in a plan type, the employee selects a tile on the employee benefits page. The employee will only see the benefits that they are eligible for. Employees get a quick view of their next course, which they have registered for and have been registered by their managers. In addition to that, they may view all the upcoming and planned courses and register themselves. Employees who register for a course through the employee self-service page can have their registration routed through workflow approval. The certificate tile displays the certificate and expiration date of the certificate expiring closest to the current date. You can update, add, or remove certificates. Depending on your organization's settings, certificate updates might go through an approval process as well. You can view your existing skills on the total skills tile. You can update skills, add new ones, or remove, and the ones that they are no longer relevant. Depending on your organization setting, changes to your skills might also require an approval process. Here you can manage your goals with the performance goals. This tile displays the number of goals you have in each status, either not started, on track, or needs improvement. You can create, update, and remove goals depending on your assigned role-based security. If you want, you can add new goals from groups or templates. Managers and HR can also create goals on behalf of employees and determine how detailed each goal will be. Managers and employees can collaborate on goals and update activities, measurements, and status. You can also include attachments. There's a performance journal that holds information that relates to how you met your goals or how you performed during a period. You can also praise the actions of a coworker using that journal. Employees can view their upcoming reviews, and if not yet created, they can create one and enter details like the performance period the review pertains to, competencies, skills, the ratings, goals, and their status. Reviews can be saved as draft or ready for manager review. Final review status allows both employee and manager to see the review together while possibly having a review session and then completing it. Your HR or your manager can also initiate reviews. And depending on an organization's settings, you might be able to view, update, or submit your own exit reviews as well. Employee self-service enables an employee with some useful information to be able to collaborate and take care of administrative tasks, such as the company directory. Company directory lets you as employees look up information related to individuals in the organization. Public contact information is available to all the employees. The company directory is restricted to the company that the employee has signed into. The task tile displays tasks that are assigned to you and lets you view and manage them. Questionnaires assigned to employees are display all scheduled questionnaires assigned directly to the employee or group. They're usually handy when it comes to internal employee surveys or, for example, course evaluations. The time of balances tile displays the balances for any enrolled plans. This tile forecasts your balance based on accrual method. You can enter and submit time of request, which will then go through an approval workflow process. We have a detailed TechTalk plan for the leave and balances. Team calendar shows your team's calendar information, including the absences. The level of access is based on the configurations. And you can also see any loaned equipments checked out to you as an employee. Depending on your organization settings, changes to loaned equipment might go through an approval process as well. Here, customers who are using fixed assets might want to consider an integration between the loaned equipments and assets functionality to have a seamless view of employee loaned assets. Now, I will show you quickly the employee self-service as an application. So what you see on my screen is the dashboard or the workspace of the employee self-service. I'm logged in as Luke Lenhardt. This is what I see. And if you see that I'm using a preview version of finance and operations that has HR workspace in it. So you may not see some of the functionalities at this point in time, which are planned for later. Yeah, if you see that the look and feel is now based on the finance and operation look and feel, and all the different platform-related updates which apply to F&O are also applicable to the HR module. So quickly having a look at what it offers, and I've gone through that as well, but I'll show you now, is next to my name or the name of, or Luke's name, you can see the department he belongs to, the title or the position he's at. He's able to edit personal details. We'll quickly go into that. Then you have a FASTA for summary, which shows all the tiles. And then all the information related to career, whether it's expense management, task management, registered courses, and able to view the open courses, certificates, reviews, performance goals, scales, compensations, and as well as pay statements. Everything is available in one view. This gives a very nice and easy, intuitive way of for employees to be able to interact with all their HR-related needs. Just quickly deep diving into the course, for example. So if you see that the next course coming up is mentioned over here without even clicking on any details. But if you want to see if there are any other courses open, could just simply click on that. You will see all the courses which are available to be for self-registration, and you can either view the details or register themselves for yourself to it. And obviously, if there is a workflow that will kick in for any review or approval process. Similar to that, if you see that if there's any certificate that is expiring, let's say in 2 days, and the settings of expiry are are configurable in the parameters. But you can see the certificate is expiring, and if you want to see all the certificates, you simply have to go and click over here, and you get to see all of them. So, and similar to that, you have performance reviews, where you could, just that there is, although this is a very old one that hasn't been looked into, but certainly this needs to be discussed with your manager. And before you do that, you can simply, to be prepared for the session, you could just simply go in, add all the information, add the activities, add the ratings that you have as employee ratings, and be prepared for the review. And if you notice over here, the compensation and pay statement information is, due to confidentiality, you are able to hide them. And by default, they are hidden, but you are able to click and show and unhide them. So, and say similar for the pay statements. Now, good thing is that it's not just that. You're able to view all the details from here. You are able to drill down into relevant forms without going and navigating into different areas. And also, whatever is possible to print, you can also print. So if I want to print my pay statement, for example, or want to have a look at the details, I can just simply click on the print, and I'm hoping it's going to work. And you see, right, the pay statement, obviously in the format you want to set up, will be there as well, right? So employees can see and have a full end-to-end view of their relationship with the organization. So before I end this quick demo, quickly going into the personal information as well, showing you what I showed in the slides, that you see all this information is available to the employees. They are able to add or edit or manage them, whether it be address or contact details or personal contacts or IDs. And this information is obviously the information available for edit or add is based on the configurations that have been done by the administrator. So as an organization, you are able to control what information an employee is able to edit. On the other hand, before I there's one more thing I could quickly show is, for example, you have these goals, right? And as an employee, what I could do is, even if there are no notifications or alerts set up at the organization level, depending on the level of employee skill set. For example, I go into my performance goals, and I want to be alerted for the end dates, or when the end dates are coming for certain goals that I have, right? Or the targets that I've kept for myself. I can simply go here, create a custom alert for myself, depending on if I'm allowed to do so or not. And this is based on security roles. And I can simply say that, this is the goal that I have in the goals table. And this is very user-friendly, so you don't really need any real technical expertise. You simply go to the end date, right? And the event would be that is due in, and maybe I want to be reminded at least 10 days before my target planned date. And then I would be reminded for that, either send an email to myself or just an alert in the application. So this becomes very handy and gives a complete overview. So this is a quick overview, or the look and feel of how the employee self-service looks like. Okay, going back to my presentation now. Right, so the second topic is manager self-service. And similar to employee self-service, here is the L1 and L2 process catalog for the manager self-service. Again, this gives you a good starting point to start your business process strategy from and add your requirements to them accordingly. All the processes or capabilities are combined under 3 level 1 process groups, namely personnel actions, team information or info cards, as I call them, and team management. We will shortly go through all of them in the next slides. This is the screenshot similar to ESS, which shows an additional tab of My Team. So you see that there's My Team added to the ESS, the same ESS workspace. This indicates that this employee is also a manager and has access to information and processes related to not just him or herself, but also their team. The overall experience for managers requires opening the minimum additional forms or navigating to different locations. So you don't have to log in or navigate to two different ESS, one for employee, one as an employee, one for manager. It's very straightforward and a clean-looking workspace. With the manager self-service, personnel actions are made easier and possible from a single workspace. There is no need to look for different forms around the application for different types of requests. The type of personnel actions possible include requesting for new employee or contractor. You can configure these options to go through an optional review and approval workflow. Managers can request for new positions and are able to add all the details required for a position to be approved. It does require enabling of position actions. An optional review and approval workflow can be configured. Similarly, worker reassignment requests can be made from the self-service. These would cover all your possibilities of taking actions, and you have the possibility of taking these actions to plan future reassignments as well. But these would cover typical reasons, would cover worker reassignments, including promotions, career changes, or org restructures. Managers may also request terminations, and this functionality applies not only to involuntary terminations due to layoffs, looking at the name of it, don't go just by the name of it, but it also applies to resignations, retirements, or deceased individuals. There are options for handling various compensation scenarios as well as the use of offboarding checklists as applicable. Compensation change requests are common and also available in the manager self-service, be it promotion-related, salary adjustments, or general increments. Adjustments can be of type percentage and flat amount. It is also possible for managers to request changes to a particular position. Next is the team information cards, which play an important role by giving managers an intuitive view of their team's various details divided into these listed tabs. The Summary tab provides a quick view of your direct reports as a manager. If a direct report also has workers reporting to them, the card displays the number of direct reports in the upper section along with a View Team button option. Options have above each tile applied to the selected employee. For example, if you want to enter a leave request on behalf of an employee, you select the employee and then choose Request Time Off. If you select the Details button after selecting an employee, there are multiple options that are displayed, including certificates, compensation details, courses, reviews, loan items, time off, performance, skills, as well as you are able to send feedback, if any. Depending on your organization settings, you can either make changes or can keep it view only. The Position tab provides a summary of employees in their primary position. Name, title, and department displays the heading area of each tile. And this tile includes the seniority date. So that's displayed from the worker's summary section of the worker page. Years of service, that's calculated based on the employee's employment start date. Number of previous positions based on the position history. Selecting this number of options opens the detailed view of all the previously held positions. And the birth date, the month and day of the employee's birth date. You can view the position data for both direct and extended reports. The Compensation tab displays the employee's annual salary. A company identifier displays under the salary amount. If an employee has more than one employment and is getting paid for multiple legal entities, the employee will have multiple compensation plans. To see all the compensation plans across legal entities without switching the companies, there is an option that you can enable, which is called cross-compensation view under the human resource parameters. To view the compensation history, you can select the salary amount or to open the details page. Only current and historical fixed or variable compensation records display on the compensation page. If an employee has more than one employment, you can switch between the companies, similar to the compensation, to view the compensation history in each company, or you can enable cross-company compensation again. You can view the compensation for both direct and extended reports. The Leave and Absence tab displays the top balances for employees that have activity. To take action or view full list of activities, select Details and then select Time Off. On the Time Off page, you can view balances, request approved time off, and forecast balances to help employees better manage time. Depending on your organization settings, you can also request time off for your direct and extended reports. The Performance Goals tab summarizes the performance goals by status. Select a number for a status or select performance goals from the details to see all goals for an employee. Managers and employees can update goals as needed over the duration of the goal. The Reviews tab summarizes the review for the employee has in each state, be it in progress, ready for review, or final reviews. To access an employee's review, select the Details button, and then select Reviews to collaborate on. Based on where a review is within a workflow process, you can see if the review is available for updating. The last set of capabilities or processes are grouped under Team Management, which essentially is an extension to the information cards explained earlier. And with these, manager can actually form the different actions relevant to team's professional development as well as overall team growth. Starting with recruitment requests, which gives a list view of all the requests manager has raised in the past or currently active and view their details. Second is a simple graphical representation of a manager's team's skill set, which quickly highlights the skills requiring improvement, urgent attention, or possibly a skill in team which is not fully capitalized upon. Such a view allows the manager to validate the employee skill set compatibility before giving any new assignments. Great. The succession planning is critical, not only for managers themselves, but also knowing who can stand up for the other members. Skill gap analysis helps managers achieve that. Skill mapping allows you to analyze your existing employees and applicants to see if they match the skill set of a valued employee. It does require skill-related data to be entered and managed, but in turn becomes very useful. Managers can also use this to identify relevant target skills for their team's individual performance goals. Managers can also see goals for their teams through the team performance goal tiles in the summary section of my teams. And managers can also see all the reviews for their teams through the team performance review tile in the summary section of my teams. And finally, the ability to view the open positions in their teams. Let me now open the application with the manager self-service view to give you a quick demonstration of the application and how it looks. So this time I'm clear. Claire Kennedy, and I'm part of the human resources, the director of human resource. As you can see that my dashboard probably has some additional information because, and yeah, this is one of the benefits as well to the merge that is happening, that not only the employee, I'm able to see just the HR related tasks, but also, for example, my project expenses, my timesheets or project timesheets, right, which are integrated to the projects. So there's much more to with this merge that is being enabled. But in addition to that, I can also see my team, right? So because I'm a manager, I can just simply click on this tab of my team and come here on this page, which is giving me much more information about my team in terms of tiles, as well as those information cards at the bottom. So going into the tiles again, if you see that I see some of the tiles which are showing me, for example, informations like ID numbers, which are expiring for my team, and I can click on them and see that Luke, who is the other me, has a driver license and national ID, which is expiring. One has expired and the other is expiring soon. So this, and obviously I could, as a manager, set alerts for these things, but if not, I could quickly come here, either have a look at my tiles and look into what is expiring, and some of the information may be really important. Then just going to quickly show you some of the other capabilities in the tiles before I go at the bottom is, for example, the team's skill assessment. So just a click, and without loading or anything like that, I have a quick access to the dashboard in a graphical view. I like this one better. I can see what are the competencies or skills that my team has, and which one has which capability. So I could obviously filter based on the employees, or I could just look at Luke. How is he doing? And what are the different skill sets that he could have, and the ones that he has, right? So very good idea of, for me as a manager, I'm able to manage the team's growth as well by looking at, okay, what are the different skill sets that we are lacking, or I have never capitalized on. Then going to the other one, which is a skill gap analysis. And this one is essentially the place where I can work on succession planning, for example. So again, taking the example of Luke, because he's really important to me. I look for his name, then based on date, and which is, let's say, for today, I see him in the position of HR director, for example, from some time. So what I could do is, after selecting his name and the target job, I click on update. And here, yes, and obviously the skill information, the data needs to be there. Only then it's actually usable. But assuming that all the information is there and employees are managing the skills, and as managers are making sure they are managing themselves as well, it's easy to see that in which of the skill sets he lacks. So the compensation benefit program is the one that he has no experience of. And this is also another view in the table view that you can have a look at. What are the skills that he needs to work on before he can really be ready for the job that I want him to be in, or he aspires to be in. And this information can be printed, shared as an attachment as well in the reviews. Another thing that I want to, as an example, show you is the performance goals. So here, I don't have to actually go, yes, at the bottom, I could see for all my employees, but here I could see the goals of all my teams and which of them have started. So this really makes the tracking of OKRs for the team as well, for strategic OKRs as well, and for the company. It makes it easier for any manager to track where we are, where he is or she is, and how far we are from the status, so they can really try to push back on the ones that haven't been started and get some updates on it. So as a manager, I would really like to have this information upfront without actually going into multiple applications. Then at the bottom, I can easily manage my whole team. So here I'm lucky, I only have six team members, but I can, and like I've shown you in the slides, I can look at all the details, the position related information as well, or their compensation details. And as I mentioned in the slides, it's easy to, without running any reports, without going in through lots of Excel files or different applications, it's easy to just come in and be able to see all the information about your team. And then you see that there are certain actions, which we spoke about, personnel-related actions that are available, some of them at the top and some of them which are more team-related or specific employee-related in the middle here. So taking example of, for example, Luke, again, if I want to, for example, process the request worker reassignment, if you see the whole experience of doing that is so easy. I'm on my workspace. I just go to my Teams, click on Luke, request for the worker reassignment, and by entering a few more details, I'm able to just, what type of reassignment is it? Is it just a normal transfer? What is the new assignment date? The details, the position details, is any change in compensation? I'm able to do that. And obviously also see attach any checklists, if any, or provide justifications for the records. And all that with the workflows in the background. That's all I need to do. So this is really intuitive, user-friendly, and that's it about the manager self-service. Okay, so coming back to our presentation, I have a few more topics before we take your question and answers. The next is configuration for self-service. So yeah, self-service, whether for employees or managers, is essentially an output to many other features in the Dynamics 365 app. The possibilities, processes, and available options are all dependent on how you have configured the underlying business functions and processes. In addition to that, before you are ready to publish the self-service workspace to the employees and managers across the organization, there are a few key configurations to be kept in mind. These can be found mostly under the human resource parameters or the shared parameters. With respect to employees, you can configure a set of useful external links for the employees, giving them a single window accessibility to all the information they need, which is only available externally. Then a single display option to either name your self-service employee self-service or self-service is a quick hack to ensure there is no confusion when both the self-services are operational. So by default, it's called employee self-service, but you have the ability to change it to self-service if you have both the employee and manager self-services there. Then you can select the information which employee is allowed to add or edit that we discussed, that all the person-related information. You do have that configuration to go and check. It is essential to validate your security configurations depending on your process landscape. And if you're launching a self-service across the organization with a focus on leave and absence, for example, and personal data management, you don't want employees' adoption slowed down simply because they see too much or too less of the information or functions they're meant to see. The next is payment methods, which are important, and depending on your policies, you can select which payment methods are available to employees for them to add the salary or expense disbursements. It is important to consider the level of personalization you want to allow your users to be able to do with their self-service workspaces. For an experienced user, they add value, but if used extensively across the organization, they can have impact on your support operations. So you might want to consider personalizing at organization level and publishing it to suit the relevant needs of organization without causing too many user-level variants of any specific form. But that may not be the case for experienced users. Then for manager self-service, there are a few more options to consider. First is the setup to allow or disallow specific information which manager is allowed to enter or submit on behalf of their team, such as certificates, leave and absence requests, courses, etc. There are view configurations regarding how managers should be able to see the expiring records. So you saw the tiles and expiring records. You can basically select, it's at the organization level policy that for how many days before and in future can you have a look at those records. And whether those expiring records should be seen only for the direct delegates or extended teams, as well as the exit for the open positions and the exiting workers. You can also set up pre-configured links, just like for employees, for managers too. And one last thing regarding workflows. Workflow parameter to disallow approval by submitter needs to be considered carefully as it can impact on behalf of submitted workflows, as discussed earlier. Before we go into the do's and don'ts, there's one more thing that I really would like to discuss, and that is the implementation considerations before any employee self-service deployment. And as you plan on your projects, we recommend you to strategize your overall approach and specifically keep in mind these key considerations. When designing your solution, keep in perspective the end-to-end employee journey and the experience. Consider the various groups of employees you will have who will be needing this self-service. How will it work for them if they are on the floor? Would they require managers to handle their leaves for them? How will they get notified? Then it is very likely that you will have multiple applications in your landscape, which are to be used by employees and managers to have a full 360 view of their employment, or for managers to manage their teams. A good example is when payroll is third-party and to view or download the payslips, employees need to access the relevant portals. You could actually embed that as a full-page tab in the ESS workspace, avoiding the need for employees to remember multiple URLs and going outside of the main workspace. Similarly, any first-party Power Apps that you may require to meet the certain business needs, instead of giving them to employees as a standalone app, look into the embedding possibilities. For organizations with thousands of employees to roll out the ESS solution too, the device strategy becomes critical too. You may not have all the employees working behind the desk with access to a reliable internet connection and up-to-date browsers. Some may be floor workers and may have very unique user interface needs in order to adopt a new solution. So how to capitalize on the personalization capabilities, how to ensure workflows are designed catering to all the possible complexities and use cases of the organization, as well as knowing the limitations of the out-of-box application is all useful when you're designing your solution, as you will need to either overcome these limitations through various technical alternatives or possibly working on change management. In addition to solution design, any successful implementation also requires a strong governance in place. All the discussed points regarding design require a good business process strategy and requirements approach to ensure the actual business cases are captured and accounted for. Testing approach to specifically include your plans around non-functional requirements, ensuring that before the go live, you have a good coverage of your ESS and MSS population. Your test users and test cases should be representative of the overall organization. Similarly, as this particular application is impacting almost all the employees in the organization, a carefully planned training approach is important. You should ideally consider use of task guides, recordings as well. And when moving from legacy applications to the new ESS, your cutover steps play a key role in ensuring the transition as smooth as possible you want to know upfront the possible issues you may face and a mitigation plan. ESS projects are all about employees' personal data, and this is not handled if this is not handled carefully, you can have big consequences. These projects require careful planning and execution of activities like mass data uploads, security configurations, and database-related operations and assignments of user accounts to employee records. You need careful planning of those. We have a detailed implementation guide covering which also contains various case studies and real examples, and I've also shared the link in the resources section in the end. Some do's and don'ts. As a recap, so we have talked about a lot of these points already, but quickly to summarize, first the do's. So do's simplify the ESS and MSS based on scope. You don't want to be giving too much or too less to the employees. That may disrupt the adoption process. Use the embedding capabilities that we discussed when you have multiple applications, so to streamline the end-to-end employee experience. Careful handling of the PII data, so that's important. We just went over that. And do consider the downstream implications when configuring the modification access. So you do have the capability to allow address modification or contact details modification or modifications of beneficiaries. But it's important to consider the implications it can have on the downstream processes. For example, your benefit plans may not be fully operational because the beneficiary information is changed, so on and so forth. Then it's a big no to configure a conflict scenario on behalf of settings. So you end the workflow rule. So you have set up on behalf of where manager is allowed to submit the workflow, leave workflow for his team or her team. But on the other hand, you have a workflow setting that doesn't allow the submitter to be the approver. So you will end up in these cases, you would end up in a conflict. And just allowing full personalization access to every employee without careful considerations can be an issue as well. To wrap up, and as promised, I do have some checklists and resources, which I have shared in this slide. So when this is published, and you will be able to download the slides and you will see this checklist available. So this is a baseline checklist so for you to use and get started with your employee and manager self-service journey, as well as all the link to different resources. To the TechTalk, to the Let's Learn, to the links to the articles, as well as the implementation guide that I mentioned, and very important to stay up to date with our release plans. Great. So that's it from my side. Any questions? Rachel, over to you. Do we have any questions?
Yeah. So we probably had around 30 or so questions come in throughout the series, and we don't have enough time to go through all of them, but we have answered all of those in the chat. Looks like we might. So someone asked if we can please share the links. The links will be available with the recording. So that PowerPoint will be downloadable on the TechTalk Dynamics community page, and that recording will be available within 5 days after this session. So do keep an eye out for that. We had quite a few questions around capabilities, that are not available. And we've commented on those. There's a lot of really great ideas and suggestions. And I think one kind of key theme that you'll see throughout the answers in the published area, if you've got a suggestion and something doesn't work, or a feature isn't available, something that you're looking to do with your ESS and MSS experiences, we do suggest that you submit those ideas at experience.dynamics.com/ideas. There are a lot of ideas that are very similar to some of the ideas that have been put out here so you can search for those ideas and upvote those ideas. And we use that information to help us prioritize what we'll be working on. So we do encourage you to go out there and vote on that information. We did have some questions. One question was kind of around how the manager self-service and reassignment works for an employee. So there was a couple of questions around that topic. So there's two main things that make the manager self-service capabilities on the My Team tab work. The first thing that you'll need to do is you'll need to assign the user to the manager security role in the system administration module. Once you assign them to that manager role, the My Team tab will start to appear in employee self-service. If you've only assigned them to employee, they will not see the My Team tab. Then the other thing that has to be true in order for that tab to actually be populated with data is the manager has to have other employees that report to them. This is all handled through positions. So in Dynamics 365, you create positions and a worker is assigned to one or more positions. And every position has a field on it. There's a tab called Reports to Position. So you can say that employees 1, 5, and 10 all report to position number 40, for example. Obviously, I've oversimplified that. There's also another tab on the position where you can create additional relationships. So if you have additional hierarchies, like a project reporting hierarchy or something like that, you can create additional relationships. But it is important to note that the My Team tab only functions off of the reports to position. So if that's needed, make sure that you have to be using those positions, and the reports to position is how you kind of identify on all of the workers that report up into a specific person is through the position assignment of those workers. So hopefully that answers that question. It looks like we might have another new one. If you are logged in to the ideas site, you can vote. It only allows you to vote once for every idea. There's no limit to how many ideas you can vote for. I'm not sure if there's like a help link on that site if you're struggling with that site. Well, yeah, there is a help button in the upper right-hand corner, so I'd certainly suggest that you use that help icon if you're having problems with the ideas site. So someone also commented, you also need to enable personnel actions to make reassignment available for a manager. And that's actually it's a great point. Personnel actions, like many of the buttons that you saw in the My Team tab, are controlled by worker actions and position actions. And if you don't enable those features, those buttons are not available in the manager self-service. So that's a very good point. Keep in mind when you use personnel actions, you have the option to create different types. So there's a drop-down box where you can select the different types. You also have the ability to control whether or not a workflow will be used with those personnel actions. We talked more about personnel actions in part 1 of our TechTalk series. So if you want more information on that, I do encourage you to go back and watch the recording of part 1. So somebody asked, in which release will the leave and absence functionality, Teams calendar in ESS and HR Teams app be available? So kind of two parts to this answer. The basic leave and absence functionality is expected for the 10.0.26 release. That is expected to be available in PEEP next month, and it will be generally available in the April timeframe. The Teams app functionality for leave and absence is not expected to be part of that initial release. And I don't know, Angela, if you know for certain, I actually think that the calendar may not even be in the first release. It might be in 10.0.27. We did post a link in the chat, and we can repost that as well with the link to the timeline. Volker, I think you've got that link. Can you repost that so it's fresh in the chat at the bottom of the list? So the timeline, it's all subject to change, obviously, but we do expect that the leave and absence, the core functionality will be in 10.0.26 along with benefits. The Teams app with the integration is not expected until 10.0.27. We did have a few other questions that came in that were just kind of around general functionality. Trying to scroll back up and find those so I can readdress those locally for you. A lot of feature ideas. Oh, looks like we had one here that actually wasn't answered. So the question is, can the variable compensation in ESS take a feed directly from variable compensation enrollment area? For us, at the moment, we have to update variable compensation enrollment and then add the same details in the variable compensation award, effectively duplicating effort. I guess I'm not totally clear on what's meant by this, but I will point out the next Tech Talk in our series is actually going to be focused on compensation management. So I do encourage you to come to that. I don't actually believe that out of the box variable compensation is available in employee self-service. So it's only the fixed compensation that you can see in ESS. So I'm wondering if perhaps you might have a customization there that's making variable compensation appear in employee self-service. It is a request that we get fairly commonly. So I do, if variable compensation in ESS is something that's important to you, do suggest you vote up that idea. If you want to clarify the question more, feel free to do that and we will try to get that question answered. There were a number of ideas, or I should say questions around how to get different types of interactions with the HR department. So like one idea or one question was around like company policies. Another question was like IT requests and things like that. So the suggestion there, and we did post a link to this in the chat with this question, is that you can leverage a feature called case management. Case management is a general feature, and obviously case management is used with some specific features throughout Dynamics 365, including FMLA cases, injury and illness incidents, and so on. But you can actually create generic categories for cases, such as IT requests or other generic HR requests, report a problem, things like that, and allow, give users security to submit cases. And you can create an unlimited amount of case categories, and each case category can have its own workflow. So then the workflow for each type of case that users submit, it's a great way to kind of create interaction between employees and HR or IT as an example. So that's definitely something that you can look at. Case management is not embedded into employee self-service, but there are additional pages and forms that are available. You could certainly look to add those links to ESS if you want a one-stop shop for your employees. There were also a number of kind of questions around different types of pages that we can view, like external applications. So company policies. There was like a question about documents and things like that. The suggestion there is that you can use the full page app feature. So that feature, it was in preview for quite a while, but it is generally available now. So with the full page app feature, you can make completely new workspace tiles on your homepage, or you can embed them as another tab into employee self-service. You can also put them in as links. So one of the things that Adeel talked about was kind of considering that cross-application functionality. If you've got other applications that you need to surface in employee self-service, whether that be like your benefits page or your 401k page, a payroll portal, things like that, you can certainly consider using full page apps or links to embed those into the experience. So that's about all the time that we have for today. So I am going to hand it back over to David to wrap us up today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Adeel, for a great presentation today. I've posted a link to a short survey in the Q&A panel, and we'd love your feedback on today's session and what you'd like to see in future events. Thank you for your participation. As a reminder, the recording of today's session will be available in the TechTalk's Community Dynamics page within 5 business days. I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenters and audience for joining us today.